Now, let me come to you, Mr. Wilson Susman. The DP says for the impeachment to get to where it is, it definitely has the blessings of the president. From where you sit, do you think that is the case?
Completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Why?
If you are impeached as an individual with the 11 charges. The impeachment has been filed by a sane member of parliament, the Honorable Muthuze, MP for Kibwezi, with 11 charges, as provided for in the Constitution and the law. Where does the president come in? It doesn't. And these are matters that have been canvassed in public, related to some of his public utterances and conduct. And Honorable Muthuze has not told the public that the motion is prosecuting is from elsewhere. He hasn't. So I think we should not create silly and inappropriate narratives about impeachments in this country. Let whoever is impeached for now, Gachagua, and in future, go and face your charges and try to discharge yourself from the charges that are leveled against you, because those are facts of law and the Constitution. You go and prove. The National Assembly is an independent arm of government from the executive. And the legislature itself, in its structure, with 292 members signing that impeachment motion, cannot be that you talk about the president. The president has kept quiet and he has kept off. And that is the nature of the president. He is not going to make any comment on this. And he's not going to, the way we know, he's not going to defend any member of the executive who is implicated in any charges. We saw the Linturi case. It went full scale. And anyone else going into the future, and I should encourage the president, if any of the member of your government is impeached, don't step in. Let facts be proved. And I think this is what we need to do to elevate governance. Rather than diverting attention, let's face the truth. What Rigathi Gachagua should do is to go to parliament and defend himself. And I wonder whether he will have a reasonable right of audience in parliament, because part of the gross misconduct is undermining parliament in itself. Why do you elect to use a media forum to try and answer the charges against you in prejudicial to the standing orders of the National Assembly? Whenever you are invited to parliament, don't make statements elsewhere. Wait, go and make those statements at the floor of the House. In this respect and in this context, nobody should divert attention of Kenyans from the real things. Don't bring in the name of the president. He has not made any public declaration about this, and we cannot live in speculation. We've come of age democratically to engage in reckless speculation.
Mr.
Go to parliament and face your judges.
Mr. Speaker, to see the speaker, Mr. Susion, to see the speaker, the deputy speaker, the leader of majority, the majority whip, the deputy majority leader all saying they support this House to motion. We've seen a host of UDA legislators saying they do support this motion. Surely it has to has the knowledge of the president and the blessing.
Do you know what, Kaitan?
Yes.
Speaker Wetangula does not need the prompting of the president to understand the implication of the 11 charges. Anybody reading the 11 charges will make their own analysis. And the deputy president is not a stranger in Kenya. He's a public figure who has been watched by everybody. Everybody watched the deputy president when he made a counter speech in Mombasa against a speech of the president, who is the chair of the National Security Council, after he delivered a statement in State House. And that really was a bit frightening, because you will wonder, is the deputy president administratively working in harmony with the president? Even if you don't agree with the president in quite a number of issues, does it warrant you to issue a counter statement, a major media statement, attacking the various security infrastructure of government, when the president is issuing a national security statement, that one actually is inconsistent in any civilization and any democracy. The impeachment should have started then. Okay. But I think there's been a lot of patience by many Kenyans. So when you see reasonable leaders like Speaker Wetangula, a grounded leader who has been in this space for a long time, a lawyer for that matter, and having been a magistrate, making a very serious concern, it means everybody is affected, and all Kenyans see merit and sense in the impeachment. And let me tell you, Keitany, nobody is going to be a sacred cow anymore in this country. Okay. Everyone is impeachable. And I think as Kenyans, the provision that is in the Constitution has not been fully utilized. You will see more litany of impeachments on governors, and they must be impeached. They are not gods. They are not, it is not a right to be a state officer. It's a privilege given to you by the people.
Fair enough. We'll talk about that, including the NIS issue, because he spoke about it yesterday. Mr. Mwangi, now, we've talked about the president and whether this impeachment motion as is ignored or not. Question is the president's silence strategic? Is he, probably waiting to see what happens and then he can be able to comment about it? Because he has never commented about the issue. The issue happened when he was still in the United States. He came back. He has attended several events, including on Sunday where he was in church, and he steered off this particular issue. So is his silence strategic in a way?
The question is, assuming the president was to speak, what would he say?
Yeah, what would he say?
I mean, this is an issue that involves his principal assistant.
Yeah. A principal assistant who has the audacity to come out and say that you are head of a regime that is not working for Kenyans. A principal assistant who has the audacity to wait for you to give a presser, then he gives his that completely undermines you, portrays you as somebody who's been misguided, misadvised, and somebody who appointed an unqualified head or director general of NIS, the most important organ of security in this country, because it gathers intelligence that informs how we counter terrorism acts in this nation. Now, when you have such a deputy, what do you come out and say when the members of parliament decides that they are done with him? The best you can do is to let the process grind to halt. Once everything has been said and done, you wait for the outcome. Then once that, if you are given an opportunity to choose a new deputy, then choose a better, correct your mistake, because that is a mistake that only the president made by having somebody who is not compatible to work with as his deputy. So I think the president is well advised to wait until the process comes to an end, and if an opportunity is presented to him to choose another deputy to correct the mistake he made in the first place.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Okango, let's talk about the NIS issue, because like Mr. Susino said, we first talked about this issue after the President William Ruto's address following the aftermath of the Gen Z demonstrations. Now, yesterday he said the NIS boss, Nordin Haji, is not above the law. And in fact, the DP said, whatever he said, he learned it from his boss. And he will call out any state official at whatever point, so long as he feels they've not done the right thing. And he said, if at all the NIS Director General feels he was defamed by the DP, then he should go to court and sue him for defamation. So this, again, is an act that many people perceive as something that he would have addressed in a different way. Do you feel the same?
Let me start from defamation. There's what we call tort of defamation in law. For something to come out, for a claimant to succeed in defamation, it must be published. What Deputy President said then, was it published? Yes. For a claimant to succeed in defamation, it must be directed to a person. Did he direct it to NIS boss? Yes. For a claimant to succeed in defamation, then it must harm the reputation. Did it? Yes, it harmed the reputation of Nordin Haji. So even if it was to go to court as a defamation issue, the claimant in this matter will succeed. But number two, let's go back. He says he learned from his boss, and he referred to a case where his boss, the then deputy president, criticized the was it police boss or the DCI boss?
The DCI boss.
Let me tell you,
Mr. Kinoti then.
if indeed what the then deputy president did, now the president, was wrong or was error, you don't go and repeat the same mistake your boss did. You perfect on that and make corrections so that you can be respected as a leader. But you cannot do something wrong. I cannot do something that I know is wrong because Osion did it. That is wrong. But let me tell you on this issue of NIS boss. By law, the deputy president is a member of National Security Council. He sits there. He has the benefit. In fact, he enjoys the benefit of consuming intelligence reports. And therefore, the director of NIS is a member also there, together with the other senior state officers. When you go, however much you differ with a member of that integral part of security organ, you cannot go out, and particularly if your boss has spoken, and you disparage that person, you call him out, and point all arrows at him, claiming that that person has failed the president in providing a fake or inappropriate intelligence report. That you consumed yourself. And you had the opportunity to say that in that meeting. In my view, even if the deputy president had a problem with Nudin Haji, NIS boss, what he would have done, he would have called him, or he would have visited him, or he would have summoned him and said, but sir, I have this issue. I don't feel it's okay. I think we should have done better. He would have even done that in the presence of the president, the three of them. He did not. He chose to go to the media and execute it in the media. That was wrong. Number two on this issue, I can tell you, the NIS director is also a human being. He's a human being. He's not a log. He also has emotions. He also felt offended. But what did he do? He never responded. He never responded to these issues. He went calm, a professional, and he did what he had to do to work. Today, a member of parliament in the name of Mutuse has cited that as one of the violations, gross misconduct, on the part of the deputy president. And it has constituted one of the charges. Anyone who brings that before parliament, I am sure members of parliament will see it. Tomorrow, he will go out and reveal what happens in cabinet and blame the president, blame one of the ministers for not doing this, for not doing this, for doing this. Do you want to have such a person in your cabinet? Do you want to have such a person as a colleague? If tomorrow, he said, do you know he said yesterday that he knows some of those members of parliament who signed, and he knows some of them knows the property that he bought, and they would have advised Mutuse to do the right thing. Mutuse was given a document, according to him, was given a document, was drafted a document, and was told to read. Let me tell you, he is actually trying to insinuate that Honorable Mutuse do not know what he's doing. He is actually to say that the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya, in the name of National Assembly, is a lame duck parliament, is a parliament that has people who are stupid, is a parliament that do not have any meaning, is a parliament that has got people who are given documents and they execute. Okay. That is what I'm reading. But I want to tell you, it is very dangerous for a deputy president to call out an institution of intelligence, an organ that is so critical in safeguarding the interest of the country, and call out its boss in a manner that he did. That one is wrong.
Fair enough. Mr. Sosion, the DP talks about coercion and intimidation, the use of intimidation. And he says, it's good because Mr. Kong has touched on the issue of property. And he says the 40-acre piece of land in Kakuret in Kieni constituency was one of the properties that was tabled in this particular motion as one of the property that he has acquired in the past 2 years in his stint as the deputy president. But he says this particular land he bought from Kieni MP, Njoroge Wainaina, in 2015. And he therefore questioned, why didn't even the MP himself, if at all they went through the motion, alert and admit to the move of this motion that indeed he sold this land to the DP in 2015? I mean, that if at all it's true, then it also pokes holes on whether the MPs went through this or they just signed it.
K24, some of the statements that we had yesterday should have better been stated at the floor of the House. And what happened yesterday is a breach of parliamentary standing orders, where you are trying to prosecute questions that have been placed before you away from those who raise those particular questions. And that is why I am wondering whether even he will have the privilege to speak to the House that he has already been subordinated. And the merits of whether the members of parliament were aware about, particularly you're talking about the MP of Kieni,
40 acre parcel
issue
land
of coercion. I think our democracy has come of age. Nobody can be forced by anybody to do anything. Not even the president can force members of parliament. He can't. Where we are as a democracy is that people are able to exercise their political rights as provided for in Article 38 of the Constitution. All citizens are granted the freedom and right to exercise their political right, including giving their own opinions. Members of parliament are not known in Kenya to be dictated on what to do. Our parliament is more independent, and these are adult members of parliament who know what they are doing. And we have seen some members of parliament going against the party position and voting, and they are never touched. That is the type of democracy that we really have in this country. And trying to bring in the issue of coercion, it is a statement by one individual, and then you remain subject to full proof of the statements that you are making. Okay. So really, it would be wrong for us to begin trying to examine the views that the Deputy President gave yesterday about the 11 charges before the mover of the motion, Honorable Muthuze, is allowed time to prosecute the same. Okay. And they will not be prosecuted in the media, and we've not seen any member of parliament prosecute this once the matter was tabled, and it's the property of the House. And since it's the property of the House, let the Honorable Muthuze move the same, and let Rigathi Gachagua respond to the same, rather than making flying statements out here that okay. Some members of parliament are being coerced. Nobody can be coerced. Okay. If we are in a democratic, free country, and you can see the president has kept a safe distance and kept off, because he knows when parliament begin exercising its own authority, there is little that you can do. The judiciary, when it exercises its own authority, there is little that it can do. And we have seen about 4 attempts to scuttle the parliamentary process. Why is Rigathi Gachagua so intent in trying to scuttle the parliamentary process using the judiciary? And we've seen the judiciary restraining itself from interfering with the process. Okay. And I think the exercise of restraint by the judiciary not to interfere, the exercise of restraint by the president and the president himself not to interfere, is allowing parliament to do its duty. Okay, fair. And so let parliament do its own duty, and nobody should impute intimidation. If anything, if you are mobilizing citizens to intimidate a member of parliament to the extent that you want to chase some of them out of their constituents, it's the wrong thing. And I tell members of parliament, do what is right. Don't fear for your votes or for the backlash that is being artificially instigated. Okay, fair enough. We would like to see parliament impeaching successfully governors and state officers who have failed. If we have to elevate the level of governance in this country to be accountable, transparent, and get rid of corruption in our system. And so nobody is a sacred cow. And even Rigathi Gachagua is not a sacred cow. Thank you very much. Go to parliament and face your judges. If you are impeached, so be it. Thank you very much. It is the law. It is the constitution. It is the people of Kenya. Don't blame anybody. Blame your own consequences. It is time, everybody, you carry your own cross.
Fair enough, Mr. Sosion. Mr. Mwangi, coming to you, the issue of public participation, this is one issue that he really mentioned yesterday, and he said the process was shoddy. What happened was they only presented accusations, and in fact he said they used legalistic language that is difficult for the common man to comprehend. And he said his responses were not even attached for the members of the public to be able to look at them and understand and weigh whether they should support the impeachment or not. From where you sit, do you think the public participation process was okay in your view to begin with?
You see, there is no law in Kenya that should give a general procedure on how public participation should be done. There is a bill in Parliament, Public Participation Bill 2023, that ought to have been passed into law and give the procedure as to how it should be done. That said, then it remains that the only procedure that can be followed is through the standing orders, what the Constitution says about it, and the judicial interpretations that have been interpreted before, or the precedents set by the courts. What the judges have proclaimed themselves on as far as public participation is concerned is that it should be both qualitative and quantitative enough. Remember that to start with, the members of parliament wanted it to be done at one per county. Then a judge of the High Court said that it should be done at constituency level, which happened anyway. Now, I don't know how the Deputy President wanted the public participation to be done. Firstly, the public participation was meant to inform the people about the charges, not about the responses. The responses are supposed to be done at the Senate, which is the house of trial. Because even the 2 hours he's been allocated in the National Assembly, by the way, is a favor. The National Assembly is not supposed to allocate him any time. They should go on, vote on the motion, then move it to the Senate. That should be a quasi-judicial body. Now, it's upon the court to decide, if at all he moves to court, to decide whether the public participation was done. And remember, there hasn't been any court that has stopped the process or has declared it inadequate. So the Deputy President might be within his right to insinuate whatever insinuations he wants about the public participation. But at the end of the day, if he moves to court or if this has to move to court, then he'll have an opportunity to explain to the judges about the inadequacies of the public participations as he thinks. Then the judges will pronounce themselves on the matter. Okay. By and large, what I would say is, calling it shoddy because of the chaos that happened. You cannot benefit from the chaos from those who support you and those who feel that you shouldn't be impeached. What I would say is that the National Assembly organized venues. The National Assembly facilitated the public participation by ensuring that they had sheets for every member who attended, and they were ready with their clerks to explain the charges to people who are seated in a hall for them to be able to give their opinion, having been informed on the charges. If it didn't happen because there were goons who came and stopped the process from going on, then how can you blame the National Assembly for not having organized that which you infiltrated into and stopped from happening? I think all these are matters that the court will pronounce itself on, depending on what the lawyers argue and counter-argue on the floor.
Okay, fair enough. I want us to take just a second breather, and then we'll be back to as well talk about the other issues that he addressed, because the DP talked about the issue of abductions, he talked about the issue of evictions, and these allegations that, especially on the issue of evictions, this is a directive by a decision that was made by the cabinet, but the DP is said to have, opposed it, and that is where we have the witness, who is the Secretary of the Cabinet, Mercy Wanjau, will appear before the House today. I know you want to say something, Mr. Kango, but
I'll say it on just addition on the public participation when we come back.
Okay, thank you very much. On that note, we take a brief break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
bad breakfast experiences? I get it. Morning